anyone know how much plastic the average person consumes in a week? Alright. Well, according to the Sydney Morning Herald, the average person ingests around 2,000 tiny pieces of plastic weekly, which equates to the size of a credit card. For those of you who don't know, a microplastic is a piece of plastic with a diameter smaller than 5 millimeters, which is smaller than the size of a sesame seed. Microplastics tend to come from the degrading of plastics or the shedding of plastic particles from larger plastics. As we eat, drink, and even breathe, microplastics enter our bodies. According to the University of Victoria, the average person consumes 121,000 plastic particles a year. In 2018, researchers from the State University of New York and Minnesota tested 159 drinking water samples around the world and discovered that 83% of the samples contained microplastics. Microplastics are even found in remote locations, such as the Lockville site at the Rocky Mountain National Park here in Colorado. Diana Lin, an environmental scientist alongside the San Francisco Estuary Institute, said, "Microplastics are being detected everywhere and the public is concerned." Lin also explained the potential of plastics to harbor harmful bacteria. Currently, scientists and water quality experts are learning more about microplastics, their contamination, and how to exclude them from the environment.
So specifically our watershed is called the Roaring Fork Watershed, and it's located on the west side of the Continental Divide, and it's approximately the size of Rhode Island. It contributes 279 billion gallons of water each year into the Colorado River, but unfortunately plastic is now becoming a part of our environment. It's in our rainwater, groundwater, and river water. From our river, plastics then enter the hydraulic cycle, which is very bad. And Greg Weatherby, a scientist, recently discovered plastics in our rainwater at 10,000 feet. This raised major concern because plastic is expected to be in concentrated urban areas, but not so much in unpopular areas like areas at 10,000 feet. So Weatherby's discovery brings questions such as where are these plastics coming from? Are they blowing around our Earth's surface, a few yards above our surface? Are they more in our atmosphere, like blowing to places like 10,000 feet? So most of our pollution that we see is non-point pollution, meaning that it all comes from different places and ends up in our river and groundwater. And a lot of the pollution comes from dumping pollutants down storm drains, which is what we see in our rivers, basically. And so ultimately what we found is that pollution is a major factor in our water quality, and that even though plastic is a new and upcoming research, it has the potential in our river to seriously harm us.
So water quality is how healthy and clean our river water is. And in Colorado, we actually have really good water quality because we're really close to the source, which is snow. We interviewed Chad Rudeau. He's a water quality program manager at the Roaring Fork Conservancy, and he said that water quality generally decreases as distance from the source increases. So over the past 100 years, our water quality has been pretty bad from mining pollution, but with the Clean Water Act in 1972, that wasn't an issue anymore. However, today we have new issues such as de-ice around our roads, increased population, littering, and much more. Some of the main river pollutants are loose sediment, trash, road salts, grease, oil, and more that are carried by water runoff and are put into our rivers. So the less pollution that we have in our rivers, the better the water quality is, the healthier the rivers are, and the healthier our people are in our communities.
Okay, so according to the University of Victoria, there are microplastics in our fish, shellfish, sugars, salts, waters, and air based on people's age and sex. They found that people consumed between 70,000 and 121,000 of these particles per year. And most of these particles are consumed through our drinking water, which obviously comes from the rivers. So here's a couple quotes from The Guardian. In 2018, researchers at the State University of New York and the University of Minnesota tested 159 drinking water samples worldwide and found 83% of the samples contained microplastics. Animals and humans consume microplastics via water and food, and we are likely to breathe in microplastics and nanoplastic particles in the air, though scientists have yet to understand the health effects. Microplastics can also attract and attach to heavy metals like mercury and other hazardous chemicals, as well as toxic bacteria. But we know enough to say that the breathing plastic probably isn't good, but we should start thinking about dramatically reducing our dependence on plastic. So, obviously this topic is still very under-researched and the health effects are unknown, but it is possible that could be a leading factor to cancer or contaminate the food chain. But whatever, we don't know much about it, but we do know that it can't be good. And not only does plastic pollution affect human health, but plastic pollution majorly affects the biodiversity in our rivers because it can decrease oxygen, which kills off wildlife, which would cause our ecosystem to fail, and this is called hypoxia. According to the Ocean Conservancy, there are 8 million tons of plastic in our ocean. You can expect that some of that comes from rivers. Although rivers are essential to life, especially the Colorado River, reaching 40 million people, there's still very little research surrounding this issue. These are examples that all of these topics we talked about are connected, just like our world. If we do not take care of what we have, it affects everything.
Though this issue might seem daunting, there are a surplus of solutions that we can begin to discover and begin to solve the plastic pollution. However, we must begin by asking the Colorado Department of Health and the Environment and other organizations to prioritize research about microplastics in our water system and take steps to minimize the effects of plastics on our health. There are also solutions that we can all take part in, such as reduce the amount of plastic containers we use, as well as make sure these containers are non-toxic, avoid using an abundance of fertilizers, and vote for officials who will support our environment and investigate the problem further. On a larger scale, we need to work towards the banning of single-use plastics. We can use items such as storm drain screens to stop plastics from seeping into our soil. Kieran Cox, a marine biology PhD candidate, states the plastic issue as, we need to reassess our reliance on synthetic materials and alter how we manage them to change our relationship with plastics. An issue of this magnitude begins with each and every one of us, and if we work together, we can affect change. Thank you so much. Any questions?
You guys are talking about breathing in plastics. When you talk about nanoplastics, how big is that? I mean, obviously you can't see it, right?
Yeah, they're microscopic.
So where does that come from?
Well, as I forget to mention it earlier, there's obviously plastics in our rain.